this tutorial is over the website rewordify.com. Although I have used Newsela with my students to help them find high interest news articles, and then I have them adjust the reading level on those articles near their Lexile range, there are not a lot of options for adjusting the reading level of a classroom text, whether that's something from my student's textbook, something I pull from the public domain, or something that I pull, an excerpt that I pull out of a novel. I do like to teach texts that are outside of news articles quite frequently. An example of this is Elie Wiesel's speech, The Perils of Indifference. But it's often challenging for some of my students to read that speech. We walk through the text as a whole class, but still just seeing some of the big words, seeing how long this speech is, and then seeing just the enormity of the words that Elie Wiesel uses, that really affects my students. It's hard for them to feel like they're following along. They're just kind of listening to the audio version that I play at the same time, and they're not really paying attention to the words on the page. This site will let you copy any text or put in a website URL and then reword a text for better reading comprehension. It's like an online version of No Fear Shakespeare, but it's for any text. There are some printable activities that teachers can use, and teachers can copy the translated text into any format that they want to use for whole class viewing. But what I like the most about this is that students can also use this site just to translate any text that they read, that they come across. I think this would be good for when students do research and they come across academic journals or scholarly articles. Their first instinct may be to think, this is too much for me, I am going to not read it and not use it. But I want to encourage them to look for those sources, just to not be intimidated to read them. So this website, when you come onto the website, this is exactly how it looks. It kind of gives you some background information on what its purpose is, why this works for teachers and students, and how it can improve learning outcomes. It's free, it's fast, and it's safe. So one of the things that pulled me to this website was the fact that they say, read smarter now. I have a philosophy that everyone should work smarter, not harder. So if this gives them that option when it comes to challenging texts, I am all for it. So the way that you start off, you go find a text that you want to reword. So the example I gave, Elie Wiesel's Perils of Indifference. I copied just a portion of this because it is a rather long speech, and dropped it right into the website. Once I did that, I just clicked Rewordify Text. And what you notice immediately is there's a lot of yellow highlighting. All of that yellow highlighting represents words that were replaced with a easier to comprehend synonym or explanation. So representative was actually replacing the word ambassador. So this actually serves two purposes. Yes, it allows students to comprehend what they're reading without having to do a lot of extra stopping and researching and writing definitions, but it also just increases their vocabulary. So in addition to reading the word representative and knowing what it means, if they hover over it, it says ambassador, so now they've learned a synonym for representative, and their vocabulary work is also being done at the same time. You can get some stats from this page. We have these different graded levels of reading. So there's the read score, which they come up with, and there's an explanation on what it is, how they get it. There's the Flesch Reading Ease score, and then there's the Flesch Kincaid grade level. My understanding from everything I've read is that these are prior to having the text reworded. So it gives you just a lot of information here. Syllable counts, characters, average sentence length, a lot of information that you may not necessarily need. But what I like about this is knowing where I picked this speech for 8th graders, so it looks like I'm doing pretty good by thinking that they can handle it. What I will say that this website does kind of emphasize is that you should not, while these scores exist, you should not put too much emphasis on any computerized text difficulty measure. Okay, so every student is going to have a different set of skills, so just because it says that it's 8th grade, 4th month or whatever, doesn't mean that that is going to be the case for everyone, that by the 4th month of 8th grade they can read this text. You can save the document and share it with others, and then there's these learning activities. So there is a vocabulary list with definitions, a list without definitions, a word bank quiz, matching sheet, standard quiz, difficulty quiz, close activity, a text with vocabulary, and then you can just export it through CSV. The close activity is kind of like a fill in the blank where they remove a lot of those words, and then the students have to figure out what goes there. There's even a section on parts of speech, which I thought was a really neat feature. It's helpful to have students look through that if you are using a text to teach parts of speech, or if you just want to give them that extra practice to be able to identify within a more natural, authentic way of learning. So let's see. I know there's one other option that you can do, which is to take the entire URL. There we go. And drop it just into the box. That did not work. Let's try that again. So just took the actual URL of the website that has the speech on it, and now I'm going to re-wordify the web page and display it. So you've basically taken a web page and reworded the entire web page, still highlighting to show you these differences of replacing challenging words with definitions or synonyms. So I just think this is a great feature. I think students would find this to be an easy way to improve their reading comprehension, and there are class activities that you can build around this and that are built into the website itself. So my ISTE standards for this tutorial are the Student S3A, students plan and employ effective research strategies to locate information and other resources for their intellectual or creative pursuits. So what I like about this is that it allows students to seek out resources at their intellectual level, but it allows them to basically use any resource in that way. Any resource can be at their intellectual and level or pursuit. The additional ISTE standard is Educator E5A, use technology to create, adapt, and personalize learning experiences that foster independent learning and accommodate learner differences and needs. So again, this idea that when my students go to do their research on their own, they don't have to have a teacher pre-select, here are all the different articles that I think would be easy for you to read at the 8th grade level, they can take any research, run it through Rewordify, and make it more easy to understand and use in their work. So this has been my tutorial for Rewordify.com.